Jim, if I could just start with reports linking you a move for Alan Campbell, is there anything you're able to say on that front?
I can't give you a great deal as of yet, Tyrone. Obviously, he's a player that we are speaking to, and the negotiations are going back and forward between Alan's representatives and my chief executive. So, I'm hoping for a bit of good news later on in the day, and as soon as we have anything concrete, then you guys will be the first to know.
I mean, he's a quality player, there's no doubt about that. I know there's been reported interest from elsewhere. It would be a real coup, I would imagine, to bring in a player like that into your squad.
Yeah, I think he would be a terrific addition to the squad. There's no surprise to me that other teams in Scotland are taking notice of his availability. He's got great Premiership experience with his time at Motherwell. Played in excess of 130 games for Motherwell at a really high level. Obviously got a great move down south to Luton, was pivotal in helping them in their championship push into the Premier League. And at this stage, as I said, the conversations are ongoing. We'd love to bring him in. I think he would give us great strength in that midfield area, which is where we've been a little bit light in recent weeks, given the injuries that we've had to Docherty and to Sybil. So we're working hard behind the scenes to try and get that one over the line, and hopefully, like I say, by the end of the day we'll have some positive news on that.
That aside, how much more business are you looking or hoping to do between now and the deadline?
No, we're very much done at this point. We were actually done before this one came along, to be perfectly honest with you. So I don't want to push my luck any further with the chairman and the board of directors. So they've been great, they've been supportive, they appreciate the position that we're in, and none of us want to be in a situation in a few weeks from now where we've left ourselves light by not strengthening the squad at this key time.
Just sticking with players, obviously young Alan went to Norwich yesterday, the second young player to go there. I'm just wondering, this season, from your point of view, frustrated or pride that there are clubs elsewhere looking at the young talent coming through the ranks?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a mixture of emotions, I suppose. I mean, in an ideal world, we can get these boys from the academy into the first team, as we have done with the likes of Ross Graham and Kai Fotheringham and Miller Thompson, and the list goes on. The interest in Brandon Forbes only comes around because we gave him the opportunity in the early part of the season and he scored that terrific goal. So when you put these players in the spotlight and you give them the platform to go and show everybody what they're capable of, then sometimes that can attract interest from other clubs. The players themselves have got a role to play as well in terms of trying to get themselves down to England, and we've got to try and get the balance right between taking the value that's in the player now and organising a good deal off the back of it in terms of sell-ons and things like that, and recognising whether these young players are good enough to go and play in our first team on a regular basis. So the Domeraki one, really pleased for Alan that he's managed to go and get himself a good contract down at Norwich. I spoke after the Brandon Forbes transfer that we need to look at our game up here in terms of the development of these young players and trying to bridge the gap between under 18s football and first team football, and at the moment we don't have a good enough setup for that. And the attraction of England for these players is that there's obviously great facilities. They've got under 21 league that these guys can play in for the next 2, possibly 3 seasons and continue their physical development, whereas we don't have that option available to us at the moment. So we feel we've done what's right for the club in this instance. The player is happy, we're happy with the fee that we've managed to negotiate with Norwich, and obviously there's some contingencies in there as well depending on the success of both players. So we just have to get on with it and work with the players that we have coming through the system in the future.
What's your team news going into this game?
We've got a few doubts over some players. Obviously, Craig Sybil, the game will come too soon for him, unfortunately. Ross Docherty as well. It's the likelihood is that Doc won't make it, and there are 1 or 2 other players at the moment that are 50-50 for the game, but I'll keep those names close to my chest for the moment.
Just in terms of the match itself, it goes without saying, especially when you look at it's a strange league this season, one way or the other, right across the board. You're still in a brilliant position, but it goes without saying you'll be looking to get back to winning ways after what's been a difficult run of games.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, there's been a few defeats in there in recent weeks. I think prior to the Rangers game, our form actually wasn't all that bad. We had won 4 of the previous 6 league games. The defeat against Rangers was a poor one on our part, given how much we'd put into the first half, and then in the second 45 we weren't able to continue that good performance, and we got punished in certain moments, albeit anyone who had watched the game would admit that we possibly deserved more than the 1 goal that we got, and having hit the woodwork 3 times in the game, we're very unlucky in key moments. So I look at the defeats that we've had, Rangers and Celtic, a couple of losses there. The Hearts game, very little in it. They narrowly beat us 1-0. And then obviously anybody that had watched the Dundee Cup game, had saw the amount of good opportunities we had to get back in that game. So I think it's important that we don't get too down on ourselves in terms of the recent run. As I said, we've won 4 of the previous 7. If we win 4 of the next 7, then we put ourselves in a great position for that top 6 position.
And a couple of, on paper, tough looking away games coming up. You've got a magnificent away record yourself, so it's not bad to have that to take into these games coming up. Yeah,
I mean, look, there are no easy games. It doesn't matter who you're playing, whether you're playing a team up near the top or a team down near the bottom like Kilmarnock are. I think Kilmarnock with Derek McInnes in charge, I think will gradually pull themselves away from the position that they're in. I think they've got some very, very good players in their squad, and they gave us a big fright the last time we were down there, being so comfortable in the first half and going in at half time 1-0 to then in the next 15 minutes of the second half to find ourselves 3-1 down. So we know what to expect from Kilmarnock. Very good team, lots of talent within the squad, and we know how difficult that venue can be anyway at the best of times. So it's going to be a really tough fixture for us, no doubt. 2 teams that want to get back to winning ways, and should make for a very good game of football, I think.
Just a final one from me. I know there's been a real talking point this week in terms of Stuart Kettlewell resigning at Motherwell amid what he says is fan abuse. I'm just wondering, as a fellow manager, just what you make of that situation.
Well, look, as always, I'm always disappointed to see fellow colleagues getting the sack or resigning from their position in Stuart's case, especially young managers, that you feel have got a really good long future in the game, and to step away from it under those circumstances that he spoke about is disappointing. And I suppose the situation just got too much for him in the end. But we know the industry that we're involved in. You do need thick skin to put yourself out there every week, both as a manager and as a player. When things are going well and you're getting lots of pats on the back, it's great. But when things don't go according to plan, then that criticism can be quite fierce, and it takes a different type of character to be able to withstand some of the abuse that can come your way. But I don't think it's something that we have to accept. I think it's something that we can all maybe do a little bit better in terms of how we give off that anger and frustration. But I am disappointed for Stuart, and I wish him and his family well in whatever he decides to do going forward.
Just one from me, Jim, and it's going back to the weekend. Although it didn't have a big bearing on the final result of the game, Rangers have had that red card overturned just at the end. I'm wondering your thoughts on that incident. Obviously, Holt had one certain reaction. I don't know if you've had a chat with him and what you make of the whole incident and now the decision that's now been reached.
I agree with the outcome that the panel have came to, I don't think it warranted a red card at the time. So it had no impact on the game and on the end result. It was so late in the game. Rangers were winning 3-1 at the time. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm glad that the panel have came to that decision. I think it's the right decision, and I'm sure Philip Clement and the player involved will be very pleased.
Just a little bit, go back to transfers, obviously you mentioned, hopefully this one will be the sort of final income round. Just would there be, any potential for any more outgoings just heading up to the deadline?
Yeah, there is a potential that one or two may go out on loan just to get some game time. Obviously the window in the Championship and the league below is open for a number of weeks yet, so we'll assess the squad once this January window is closed, and we'll have the relevant conversations with those players, and we'll make a decision that we feel benefits Dundee United and the player involved.
And just on this weekend's game, 2 draws between both sides so far this season. Just what do you think's been, that's kept both sides so close together in those games, and what do you think you need to do to get your noses in front this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, look, there were 2 extremely close games, the previous 2 that we've had, and arguably Kilmarnock and Derek McInnes would have been very disappointed at Rugby Park to have not won the game. And then, we were the same in the recent one at Tannadice. We felt we'd done enough over the piece to come out on top and win. But, Kilmarnock, credit to them, showed a similar type of attitude to what we showed at Rugby Park, kept fighting right to the end and got the late equaliser. So, there hasn't been a great deal between any of the teams in the league, apart from Celtic, I would argue, who are obviously a fair distance out in front of everybody else, and Rangers, look like they're starting to, get a bit of consistency and become the team that we believe they're capable of with the talent that they've got within it. But everybody else, from 3rd place right down to the bottom of the table is capable of beating each other on any day. And I think consistency has been so important over the season, and I think that's something that we have had up to now, and that's something that we have to continue to do right through till the end of the season. I think it's 9 games left, I think, prior to the split, and we've got a target in mind of where the points that we need to accumulate if we are to get that top 6 spot. And that's the target that we've set for the players, and hopefully we can achieve that sooner rather than later.